Hey everyone, welcome to the first video lesson where I will be breaking down and explaining sections of my new song Travieso. In this video, I will be breaking down a section that I refer to as fives. This nickname is incomplete because it doesn't cover all the groupings that are happening in the section, but it worked as a quick reference while we were in the studio. Before we move on, let's have a look at what the section sounds like. Alright, the first thing that we have to understand is what time signature this is in. The answer to that is 4/4. However, there are several things happening that make it sound like it's a different time signature. The first thing that helps me hide the 4/4 time signature is that it's a 2-bar phrase, where the rhythm of the first bar goes over the bar line. The second thing that helps me hide the 4/4 is the accent pattern of the rhythmic phrase itself. Once we understand the time signature, we need to understand the note value that the phrase is based out of. And as you can probably tell, it is straight 16th notes with no rests. So, now that we know that we are in 4/4 and that it's all 16th notes with no break, let's analyze the rhythmic phrase. So stick with me for a minute. The phrase is based out of groupings of 5s and groupings of 3 16th notes. I play a total of 4 groups of 5, which adds up to 20 16th notes and creates the over-the-bar feeling. And then 4 groups of 3, which adds up to 12 notes and completes the 32 16th notes that fit in 2 bars of 4/4. In this next example, I am going to keep a quarter note with my right hand and play the rhythm of the groupings with my left so we can hear the main accent over the pulse of the song. The accent pattern that I actually used over the figure is a little bit different and looks more like this. Before we play the full groove, we should be able to play the rhythmic pattern over quarter notes as well. The next step is to play that accent pattern with the right hand and filling in the spaces with the left hand. This full pattern is what causes the phrase to be all 16th notes with no breaks. Once you can play the full hand pattern, it's time to analyze the bass drum and the song form a little bit. This section happens a total of 3 times in the song, and every time it gets a little bit bigger, a little bit louder, and a little bit busier. The first time this section is played, I play the hand pattern we just heard with a bass drum playing this figure. This pattern accentuates the groups of 5 and the groups of 3, but doesn't play the full accent pattern I'm playing with my right hand. In order to complete the groove, the only thing that we are missing is the snare accents. In the groups of 5, the snare plays what is the first note of the second and fourth grouping to create an illusion of a backbeat that lines up with the bass drum. But in the groups of 3, the snare plays the last note of the grouping, which doesn't line up with the bass drum and creates a little bit more rhythmic tension. The second time this section is played, the bass drum follows the full accent pattern with the right hand to make it sound a little stronger and a little bit busier than the first pass. Once you get used to playing that pattern with the bass drum, it's time to add the snare drum, which follows the same idea as before, playing the beginning of the groups of 5 and the last note in the groups of 3. Now the third time this section is played is the outro of the song. It is the busiest and the loudest part of the song, and it needed all the notes. Let's have a quick look at what that outro sounds like. To break that down, first we need to get used to playing the groupings with just the right hand on the snare and filling in the space with the bass drum. Basically, the bass drum is going to be replacing the left hand. The last part of this idea is to turn that rhythm into 30-second notes, doubling everything. In the actual song, I improvised where the hands are hitting, but I always respected the same pattern. Alright, that wraps up the lesson for the 5th section of my song Travieso. If you haven't seen the video, click here to watch the full performance and click the subscribe button to stay updated with all my videos. I will continue to post my weekly coordination challenges, and I have 2 more videos breaking down other sections of Travieso coming soon. See you next time.